And actually, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I know me.
And so that's our life mission. That's the McShin's mission.
You don't have to understand my boundaries to respect them.
Well, no, I'm the president and co-founder of McShin, a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorders.
How do you go about fixing the damage in the trust between the family after you get out?
Okay, I gotta work on that.
Celebrating my 6 months. Didn't have a cake.
Yeah.
Gosh, you showed up.
Hey everyone, welcome to Get in the Herd podcast, brought to you by the McShin Foundation. I'm here with Kevin. Is it Weisert?
Weisert, yeah.
Weisert. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing good.
So
a little nervous, but
a little nervous. All right. So let's get right into it. Let's talk a little bit about where you're from, maybe a little bit about your childhood. Just get right into it. What was growing up like for you?
What was growing up? Right off the rip.
Where are you from?
I'm from Virginia Beach.
All right.
Yeah, I like to break my life into two parts, right? It was like the time before prison and the time after prison. And the time before prison, I don't think about a lot about. You know what I'm saying? That's like the before time. And then we have after prison, which is a whole different ball game. But I'm from Virginia Beach, and my dad was a fighter pilot, and my sister she was a really good volleyball player, and she was like the golden child, you know what I'm saying? But I was the golden child at some point. But I had basically like a really I had a really good childhood, at least from what I remember. And
so you had like a stable environment.
Yeah, I mean it was good. It I had some problems with my dad. Of course. I blame a lot of my problems with my dad, but for the most part, I mean, I'd say in comparison to other people, I'd say it was pretty good. Now, were there traumatic events? Of course, there were traumatic events, but I think maybe I don't know. I getting deep right off the rip.
Yeah.
There were some deep-seated childhood issues that I haven't addressed at all, and I just move on. And so I mean, I had had a good childhood relatively.
So really quick, just so for people that are watching this from the beginning. So you are here at the McShin Foundation, which is a recovery community organization. So you're here to recover from drugs and alcohol.
Yes.
From anything mind altering.
Yes. Drugs.
So what was your drug of choice?
My drug of choice was methamphetamine.
Okay.
And also alcohol. So.
And what at what age did you start using?
I mean, I started. Shit. Here we go. Okay. All right. So first of all, I want to say I got a list of words not to say. And,
you're good, man. You're good. This is an adult podcast.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm trying. All right. So I was told I got to change my vocabulary up a little bit to seem a little more professional and more like I'm the age that I actually am. And yeah, I'm not gonna say the words there, but I got them right there just so I know. But yes. What age did I start? I think I was in middle school when I first started smoking cigarettes, and that was how it started. And then
So I was about 11, 12 years old.
Yeah, around there. Yeah.
So started experimenting with cigarettes, and do you remember what the intention was? Did you?
I was trying to get high off cigarettes, man.
Okay.
I was like.
So you were trying to feel different. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it was also I wasn't planning on smoking cigarettes, but it was all my friends smoked cigarettes, and it was I wanted to be the, I didn't want to be not cool. I'm yeah, we're smoking cigarettes now, and then it went on to. Smoking weed when I was 8th grade, 9th grade, around there. And, of course I got, I had to do the most with that. So I got kicked out of school, got sent to an alternative school when I was in, 9th grade for possession of marijuana. And I did that for a year, and I actually got kicked out of the alternative school, which is a funny story for cigarettes. So, and then I just lucked out and went to this really good, I just, like a loophole, got sent to, was able to get back into my original high school, and then went actually to the Advanced Technology Center, which is like for really good kids. So it was like, it was a transition from the worst of the worst to the best of the best. And it was like, like, it was awesome. And that was right around 2003. And, like, I was really, really happy at that time. And I was just like, but the truth of the matter is that I almost screwed the whole thing up. I almost got kicked out of school entirely. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what happened with that, but that's, I guess that's a little like God moment or whatever. But it was kind of cool that worked out.
So, being a child of someone that's in the military, is that did that affect you? Did you guys move around a lot, or you guys just stayed over there in Virginia Beach?
We stayed in Virginia Beach, in the same house with the same phone number. And it's actually the same phone number that I had growing up. Is the exact same phone number that we've always had. And,
so so you mentioned your sister and your dad. You haven't said anything about your mom. Was your mom around, or? My
mom was my rock.
Okay.
She was my foundation. She was like my best friend, and like she was my enabler.
Okay.
Looking back on it, I mean, like, but I mean, it wasn't my parents' fault. It wasn't anything that, I don't blame them at all. I blame myself.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I had a similar relationship with my mom. Yeah. My mom was an alcoholic and an addict. And, both my parents enabled me, but they didn't know they were doing that. They tried. They did the best they could with what they knew about.
Yeah, they had no idea.
It was So, but so you start smoking cigarettes at an early age. You get into high school, start messing around with weed.
Yeah.
Get in trouble, get kicked out, then end up at a really good school.
Well, there's something I didn't mention also is that like in 9th grade, somebody gave me an Adderall for the first time.
Okay.
And
yeah,
I'll tell you what. I had no idea. I said something this the other day. I was like, I had no idea what the effects of stimulants were before I first had an Adderall, and it wasn't until I had that first Adderall that I was like, okay, well, I want that effect again. I was like, man, I got so much done. I got like, I don't know how I did it, but I got like a 99 on like this like midterm, and I didn't even study for it, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So it wasn't until that I really like, now I need Adderall all of a sudden. Now I'm bipolar. Now I'm, now I'm ADD all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? Which before that I was like, I thought I was just fine. I was a normal kid.
So did you end up getting a prescription?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Very soon afterwards.
Yeah.
And like that.
So right away after the first time you took the Adderall, you were off to the races, like
game on.
Okay. All right. So so tell me a little bit. So you were able to finish school or high school?
Yeah, barely.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, I I think like looking back on like the progression of Adderall too, and like how the stimulus is like, like it follows the same kind of trajectory that that it did with the eventual meth usage, and it was the same. Like it starts off good and then it ends up really bad. So I got off of Adderall right after I finished high school, and I went to rehab, and like. We said it was for weed and alcohol. Really, it was for Adderall, too. But I didn't want to be that guy. I was like 18 years old, and I'm sitting there going, I'm there with meth addicts and heroin users in rehab, which is a Scientologist rehab, by the way, which I do not recommend. Like, my parents had the best intentions. I think they're like, yeah, he's like really into science, so like let's send him to this Scientologist rehab.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds great. I'm like, I don't think you quite know what you were signing up for, but looking back on, looking back on that time as like a really like good time, and like if I had a chance to like catch up with some of the counselors and some of the people that were in there. Like they had good intentions. It was
Yeah.
not like they were out there for some nefarious purpose. It was like they were there to help people, and you know, like really, like they helped me. You know, like, and if I had a chance to go back and talk to him and say how I'm doing nowadays, like, I mean, you know, like maybe not now, maybe not now, but I mean, like I think you know they would it would really be good to see him and
Where was this place at?
Georgia.
Okay. How long were you there for?
Well, I was there for like 3 or 4 months, but
That's a long term.
yeah, what I said is Georgia, but you know they pronounce it Joja
Mm.
down there, so that's how they do it. But Georgia's beautiful.
And did you when you came back from there? Did you go back to Virginia Beach?
Yeah.
And what did you change? Did you see a change, or did you really intend to stay off of the drugs and alcohol?
I think from the get-go, I think I had reservations.
Okay.
And I think my main intention that entire period was just to go back home. I miss home.
Yeah.
I missed my friends. I missed, you know, like that life that I lived beforehand, and I want to get back to that more than anything. And you know, like that kind of, you know, that kind of set the stage for the next couple of years. And I don't think I really got my act together until like probably until like 2009, around there, 2010, around, because I started going to college.
So you're about 20, 21, around there?
No, this is after that. I was more like, I think I was like 22 or 23 around that time. So that's when I actually moved up to Richmond. I wound up moving up to Richmond in 2008, and I you know, we'd move in with all my friends that we were partying with, and you know, like it was a whole different Richmond back then. I tell you what, but like I made some really good connections. One of those being my, you know, business partner, business mentor, you know, a really good friend of mine, who actually got me into McShin now.
Okay.
So he was extremely influential in this whole, I guess, this next phase of my life. So I'm really excited about it. But yeah, like we actually started not we, but like he started the company. I was just me and him, and you know, it was a landscape company, and now it's like the #1 landscape design company on the West Coast. So that's, you know, like it's great to see that, like how he progressed in this one, and it's just really cool to be able to reconnect back with him, like through a series of unfortunate events, but now we're here.
So back in 2009, what exactly went on then? What were you doing for, like, were you doing the landscaping stuff back then, or what?
I was all over the place.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I really had no direction. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to do what everybody else was doing, which is good things. And it was a series of just, you know, odd jobs I was doing. And what I was really doing was drinking and smoking weed on a regular occasion, and doing the most. So, you know.
And where were you living at?
I lived in this mainly actually, like it's called Manchester now, but back then it was nothing. It was just you know.
Were they just like apartments or how? Like
it was housed.
Okay.
But like back then, I mean, Manchester, what it is now is nothing compared to what it was back then. It was just a bunch of like empty lots with, you know, crackheads going around. It was something where you had to lock your doors, and it was like, it was just a wild time back then. And I did a lot of partying. I did a lot of what I thought I needed to do, and went to a bunch of, you know, just something, you know, like I just turned 21 years old, you know, like, so it was like, you know, I was like trying to live.
Another world opens up, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it was just, I was, you know, college age. I was sitting there like going to college parties all the time, like just, you know, just living it up.
How are you supporting yourself?
Not very much. It's like I'm saying, that it's like basic, you know, like odd jobs essentially. Like
You're just barely getting by.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
you
just
know?
enough to party and buy your drugs and
yeah, essentially.
Yeah. And so that's alcohol and weed. And then how were you introduced to methamphetamine?
I wasn't introduced to methamphetamine until like 2015, and so that's a whole
It's a whole chunk.
a
Yeah.
whole chunk.
Yeah.
And like I actually the first time I was introduced to methamphetamine was that rehab in 2005
Okay.
when I was 18 years old. That I had never heard of meth beforehand, and people were like, "Oh, you did Adderall? That's exactly like meth." And I was like looking at the effects of what they were doing. I was like, like not getting it. I'd never done it. I had no idea what meth was. I didn't have any idea what it looks like. Just one of those things.
Essentially, it's like a supercharged Adderall.
Yeah, with the governor too.
Yeah.
And I had that in my mind that entire time, knowing, okay, well, these are the effects of methamphetamine, but never trying it, And I was always like, no. I knew I knew it was bad. I knew that much, and because I saw what it did to people, that were in that rehab. But that was the first time I ever heard of meth, and that's the first time, so.
So in between that 2009 and 2015 period, what happened in that period that, I guess, like, how did you come to 2015 and start using meth?
Well, I don't know why I have to think so hard on this, but I'm trying to like piece together the years, which is crazy. I guess I'm older than I thought I was, but all right. So here's what happened. 2008, I got like a underage possession of alcohol charge in Virginia Beach. Was supposed to go to ASAP, which I thought was this really difficult thing to do, and I never finished it. So I was on the run for like almost a year, and then it caught up with me eventually. They arrested me while I was working with Matt, and brought me down in a paddy wagon to old Virginia Beach, and then I was there for like 45 days, and
So this is your first run-in with.
it was
being
actually the
locked.
second one.
Okay.
Second one. So, but the first one I stole my own car and wound up in the rehab in Georgia. And the second time I got locked up was, because of the underage drinking thing. And then, I wound up back in Virginia Beach. And then
Doing 45 days in jail, though, is not like a small thing, especially for your second time around. What did that feel like?
I mean, like, it was a eye-opening experience. It was what I considered my bottom at that point.
Yeah.
And, the real bottom was the fact that I wound up in the hole in that jail,
Which is
and
crazy, yeah.
which, yeah, I mean, like, if you've never experienced anything like that, then it's just a whole different thing, and it's like a jail within a jail, and like, but what I did, I sat there and I had a pen and a piece of paper, and I like sat there and I really like thought about what I wanted to do with my life and what were important to me, and like, I kind of like, I knew that I wanted to go back to school. I knew that I wanted to do engineering, because when I went to that engineering school back in high school, like that's what I was happy. That's what I liked doing, and I just want to get back to that. And that launched the next portion of my life, and that's when I went to college. And
Where'd you go to college?
Virginia Beach, and I went to TCC, and then
So you do the 45 days in jail, like, you're in there, you do some reflecting, sit down, think about things, you come out and you're motivated to do better.
turn my life around.
Okay.
And basically, like, that's exactly what happened. From that point on, I was doing really, really, really good. And I, went to college, and like I was killing it. And I wound up going to ODU.
And at this time, were you staying clean and sober, or were you just not using heavily, or what?
Well, I thought that the problem was weed, right? I thought it was like, yeah, as long as I don't smoke weed. But, really, like, what I didn't tell my parents this entire time is that I was doing Adderall also. And, like, that's why I was getting the good grades that I was.
Now, were you abusing it, or were you?
I don't even think I was abusing it. I think I was just using it for a very specific purpose.
To do work.
Yeah, but in the grand, in the actual, like, okay, the definition of abuse, it's like, okay, well, I didn't have a prescription to it. I had to find it all the time, and it was something that I was addicted to. So was I abusing it?
Oh yeah, if you didn't have a prescription, yeah.
Maybe. Well,
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. But like,
So
I looked at it, I justified it, okay, well, like, that's why I was able to, and this is something that's a recurring thing, by the way. I was like, okay, well, that's why I got the good grades. That's why I was able to do what I was doing. And, like, that's what kept me using it, and I didn't stop using it, and like because it was working. You know, had I done things differently, had I not been using would the same thing still occurred? I don't know. You know,
You
like I don't.
convinced yourself that it was okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's the reason I was able to be successful is because of that.
Mm.
Since the second I took it, the first time I took it, up until just recently, amphetamines played a huge part of my life on a daily basis, and I'd always looked at it as like, okay, well that was, you know, like I'm better with amphetamines constantly, and I always think that I'm not good enough, and I could be like, okay, well, success to me was drug use, and they were tied together, so it was fucked up. But
It's like walking like a fine line, and also trying to separate what the positive parts of, like, is that me or is that the drugs, like,
exactly,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
So it's a very confusing, especially when you do it for that long. You
Yeah.
can't really differentiate what's real and like what's yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So what ended up happening? Like what there was a turning point, right? Something that happened that made you like want to.
Start going to meth.
Oh, so that was Adderall. Okay.
Yeah, that was Adderall.
So yeah, what happened? What made you want to go to meth?
Well, like, so basically, I was going to ODU and I got a couple DUIs, and then I got, not to say I got kicked out of ODU, but I checked out of ODU and I started focusing on AA, and then I got sober for a little while, and then met some really good people. So that was my first brush with recovery, and it was beautiful.
And what year is this?
This is 2012.
Okay.
So that's 10 years ago. And that's actually the first time I had tried to become a tattoo artist, and then somebody was like, okay, well, it's too difficult, you know, it's you shouldn't get into it, it's too much work, or whatever, like that's what these fucking guys were saying. So I stopped trying to be a tattoo artist in it, and I was like, okay, well, let's do the engineering thing, and let's continue that, and let's, instead of doing engineering, let's do something that's like engineering. And I started, you know, working on airplanes, because my dad was a fighter pilot, and I was like, well, this continues the line. And then I went to aircraft maintenance school, and I did really well with that. And eventually, like, with that, same thing. You know,
So in 2012, so how long were you able to put together, like clean and sober, like, or in recovery? How much consecutive?
I think it was 9 months was the most amount of time.
Which is not a small amount. Like, I mean, for addicts, man, like any 30 days is a miracle, right? Even a day. So to put together 9 months is you were doing something right.
Yeah.
Did you have a sponsor?
I had that. It was always like, I'm doing this recovery for a reason, you know. And I had a great sponsor and a great support network, and we were doing a lot of fun stuff. And I was like, you know, I was doing it. The reason I was doing it was because I wanted the stuff that recovery had more than I wanted what addiction had, because I know what addiction brought me. It brought me jail. It brought me like, eventually it would, you know, just everything came apart, and like, but then I kept going back to that. You know what I'm saying? And what eventually like brought me into meth use was, you know, I had been doing that like the aircraft maintenance school. Did phenomenal with that. Like, just like I was doing phenomenal with ODU and engineering. And I've been doing phenomenal with my recovery. But you know, like, eventually something happened, you know, like I got in a fight in the parking lot, and I actually caught a malicious wounding in the parking lot, but that's, you know, that's the thing. And fucking, you know, like, I got kicked out of school, and got kicked out of school, and I started, you know, I opened up my own mechanic shop, and then I was doing a bunch of amphetamines. I was like, once again, I was like it just became more and more. I was doing more and more Adderall. And then what happened is that I had my own mechanic shop. I'm not in school anymore. And eventually one of my friends was like, hey, I got this stuff. It's like just like Adderall, but like, you know, it's meth. And because the entire time I was friends with him, I was like, no, I'm good. Like, hell no, fuck no, like I'm not doing that shit. And and then one day I was like, yeah, let me get that. I was like, let me get that. Ran out of Adderall, and I was just like, yeah, let me try that. And then it didn't last. Wasn't long after that I got tore off and I went to prison. It wasn't long after that I lost the shop. You know, that I was homeless, living out of a truck that was like, it was somebody else's truck that I was working on, and he was like, where the fuck is my truck? And like, it was just a shit show. It was like a 3-month period, done.
That's
And
quick.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was in prison for 5 years.
Straight?
Yep.
Oh. So what was the charge?
Manufacturing methamphetamine.
Oh, so okay. Wait, I think we skipped something. Because how did you go from Adderall to trying meth once to
Manufacturing it?
yeah?
Because, you know, me being me, you know,
You
I
gotta
have to be Mr.
do the most of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Yeah.
So I was like, if this guy can make it, I can make it even better. You know, like I can, you know, and that's what happened. I was like, he's unreliable. I can't, you know, count on him to get anything when I want it. So I was like, why don't I just, if he can make it, I can make it better. So, and then I started making it. But if I were to get caught with the amount that I actually had and not all the chemicals to make it with, I would have gotten a simple possession charge.
Yeah.
I would have just been like, you know, I am right now, in a situation where I'm looking at a short amount of time. But because I was manufacturing it, I went to prison for 5 years.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what happened? Where were you cooking it at? Like, what? How was that? Like, how you know, we don't need to. I mean, but this is the point of this interview, though. Like, trying to get in the nitty gritty.
Shit, man. Like, it was a shit show, dude. It was just not.
I mean, like, were you cooking this in the woods? Like,
No,
were you in a house?
You know, I started in the shop, of course, and then like, got kicked out of the shop real quick, and then it's easy to get kicked out of a commercial building when you're having like hookers run out, you know, like, and you know, there weren't even I don't even know why there were hookers in there, just
Yeah.
just like people that were hanging out, and you know, like.
I mean, cooking meth isn't a small thing
Operation.
to do. Like, I mean, that's like, you got to know, like, chemistry. Like,
Yeah, it's
like,
just that's what we were doing back
how did
then.
you figure it all out, though?
Somebody taught me. It was just
Okay.
that's what we were doing, and that's the kind of people that I was running with. Is that that's what we would do? We would make meth, and you know, like, it was just something that was like, it was just a bad period in my life, and like I don't, you know, like it just.
So what ended up happening, though? Like, what was the day that, like, you got arrested? Like, what happened?
I was actually making it. This is gonna sound fucked up, but like my parents went to. I was living homeless at the time. I had nowhere to go. You know, my parents had wound up going to Florida for a wedding that I wasn't invited to.
Okay.
And
That you weren't invited to. Yeah.
yeah, of course. You know,
Checks
'cause
out.
I'm on meth.
Yeah.
And you know, like, and I was like, okay, well they're gonna be gone for like a week at least, you know. And it turns out they're only gone for like 2 days. And like, so I snapped the fuck out. I you know, like, I went nuts. You know, I was like pissed off that my mom wouldn't answer the phone, and I was like, you know, just going nuts. And like, I was just really upset with how things had turned out. Like, it went from like me on top of my game to me being way at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's not the first time in my life that's happened. So, you know, like, very recently that just happened too. And it's like the same sequence of events happen. And it's just like, it's terrible, you know? And that's something that really, like, it hits home. But like last time, you know, like, last time it wound me up in prison for 5 years. And this time it only ended me up in prison for 17 days. And I was able to, because, you know, now I know about McShin. You know, I didn't know about that beforehand. And I pressed the issue this time. I was like, the first person I called was my sister, and you know, got in touch with her husband. And then I was like, you know, who do I call? And like the second person I called was Matt Daly, who is my, you know, business partner now. And You know, like, and he's just been an inspiration and a motivation for me to you know, like, to do good, because I'd seen him when we first started this thing. Now he's very, very successful.
I want to get there, bro, but like we're missing a big part of the story here, and I'm trying to think about the people watching, and um, it is what it is, man. Like people want to hear the shit, like the meat and potatoes of like
You're right.
being in the, like feds coming breaking in through the door. Like what happened? Like
If
we
you-
don't have to discuss it. Like we could just move on from there. But like if we could,
Let's move on.
okay, we can move on. From there.
Because trust
Alright.
me, it gets better.
Okay. All right. So
Just the
so
shit- the
5
shit
years.
comes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about being in jail for 5 years? Because that's a big part of your life, like prison, right? 5 years.
Yeah, I think my like automatic like what should I call it? Like defense mechanisms are just to like bury shit
Mm.
and then, you know, like kind of move on from there. And but prison, like I'll tell you what, our prison formed who I am right now.
Mm.
That is a direct formation of who I am to this day. And whether you want to say, okay, well, was that a good thing or a bad thing? It was a fucking good thing. And like the reason it was a good thing was because I didn't have people to enable me when I was in prison. I had it rough. I had it really, really rough. And like, not to say that anything bad happened. Like
Yeah.
that,
No, I get it. Though. Like
but-
no one there to like soften things for you and just
nobody, nothing.
yeah.
And like I did, you know, for like the first, I did 18 months in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like before I got sent up to prison.
Yeah,
you
which
know?
is usually I hear worse.
Bruh.
Yeah.
That's one of the words I have to say. I say too much. I say bruh. But bruh.
You're doing good though.
Yeah, like
it's the first time.
a lock.
So
you know?
18 months. Why did that take so long? Just sentencing or what?
It's just how long it takes.
Okay.
But I mean, like, essentially, like, imagine going into jail and having nothing, you know, and having nobody to call, and the people that you do call don't answer the phone, or they block you, or the people that you write letters to, they don't write you letters back. You know, your family. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I, you know, like, that's what I had to deal with, and like watching everybody else get things, because jail is a very like it's very like capitalistic, you know, society essentially. Like if you don't have money, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Like you're sent in there, you have a jumpsuit and a pair of shower shoes, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, like, but you're watching people like
Any type
that-
of food, commissary, like all that
Bro.
status. Yeah. Like
nothing.
Yeah.
And we're talking like they give you shit food. They
Mm.
give you like gruel, and they don't give you enough of it, so you're constantly hungry. You're constantly thinking like, okay, like you're watching other people eat and you have nothing. And I did that for like 9 months before it like occurred to me that, hey, I can draw. Like, you know, let's make something out of this. And I just thought about it. I was like,
you're like forced to like survival. Like
Yeah.
what can I do to get more? Like
yeah, but that was a 9-month period of just hoping
yeah.
that somebody would like sit there and save me, you know, from this hell that I'm living in.
Yeah.
You know, and hoping that I would get less time than, you know what I'm saying? Like, just hoping that. And I had nothing. And it was like just complete breaking down of the human psyche. And
it took a little bit for reality to kick in that like this is it, bro. Like you better do something. Like
that is your reality.
yeah.
Like, there is no, like, when you get sent in jail, that is your reality
Yeah.
from this point on. You cannot escape from that reality. You are forced to deal with it. And, you know, like, the way I dealt with it was to, like I said, it took 9 months for me to even pick up a pen and think that I'm good enough to actually, like, maybe try to make it, you know, to get my own food. You know what I'm saying? Because I was starving. You know what I'm saying? You can't ask people for food. They're not going to give you food.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, like, hope somebody's going to send me, like, a, you know, care package or something like that. Like, never happened. Like, what happened was I got desperate enough that I was willing to change that. And realizing that, okay, well, what can I do? I can draw. You know what I'm saying? So I just practiced it, you know, and I started off asking somebody for a cup of coffee. And this goes along right with that addiction mentality again. but drawing in this story, drawing became tied in with coffee drinking.
Mm.
So again, stimulants. But you know,
So you start drawing.
yeah. So I was like, every time I needed to draw, I had to get coffee first. But that's a side note. But
Yeah.
I'd rather be drinking coffee than smoking meth. But
Yeah.
you know,
Some would say.
yeah. You know, so basically, like, I started drawing, and I drew like one little thing, and it was like some cards with like a heart or something like that, and it was something stupid. And somebody saw that, they were like, "Yo, bro, that's like sick." And I was like, "I need you to draw me this and this and this." I was like, "Okay." And next thing I knew, I started just drawing. I started drawing every day, and I started to earn my own food, and I started to not go hungry, and I started to look better at myself, and I said, "Okay, well, maybe I can do something with this." And I started drawing portraits for people, and like I started off at like $5 a face, and like I got better, and I went to $10. You know what I'm saying? So like, it just made me feel like just like I'm worth something. When somebody can see you do something and they're going like wow, like, you know, like that's like, you know, this, it was just a really good feeling. And like,
Value, yeah.
yeah, a sense of like, you know, like self-worth and value, like something
Yeah.
when you had none. You were that guy that had to borrow something from everybody, and like,
Yeah.
you know, it went from that to going, you're that motherfucker.
Yeah,
you know,
drawing is not everyone can do that. You know?
No.
It's,
that's something
It's
that
skill, yeah.
I've always undervalued the skill set that I naturally had, that came naturally to me. I don't know where it comes from, but it just like is there. And that turned into a career, essentially. And you know what had happened is that, you know, I started to realize that like, if I want anything in this world, that nobody was gonna give it to me. You know, I can't ask for handouts. I can't, you know, like count on good graces from other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, if I want something in this world, I have to sit there and make it happen. And that's what started that mentality. And I kept on drawing. And I kept on drawing every day for the next 3.5 years. And I got better and better and better and better and better and better. And I didn't have a single tattoo when I came into prison at all, period. And I left, and now I have a couple tattoos. So
yeah. So during that 5 years in there, you stayed clean and sober in there, because you know, jails are, you know, there is drugs in jail. People
Yeah.
like, you know, don't like to count that time, but
Oh.
I would count it because there's drugs in there. It's, you know,
bruh.
yeah.
Yeah, no, there's definitely drugs in prison
Yeah.
and jail. There's a lot more in prison, but like I had never tried Suboxone until I went to prison.
Okay.
And essentially, like, drugs are a luxury. They're a commodity, you know, and they're not something that poor people
Yeah.
have. I mean, I guess essentially, like,
Especially
if you
in
can't
prison
afford,
or jail. Yeah.
if you're poor, you can't afford drugs. It's like, so once I had money, people were like, "Hey, like, do you want drugs? You want Suboxone? You want to try this? You want to try this strip?" And like everybody was like, "Hey, I'll give you like a little piece of strip if you draw me a picture." I was like, you know, for a lot of times I was like, "No, I'm good." But every once in a while, I was like, "Yeah, fuck it," you know, like, you know, like, I knew from that experience in AA what recovery was, you know, like how good it could be. And I knew that that's what I wanted to get back into from the get-go. Because I knew that, like, I know how bad addiction can be, and I know exactly where it brings me. And one of the first tattoos I got was this one on my fingers right here, and it says ODAT, and that means one day at a time. And that was one of the first tattoos I got. And like, you know, then eventually I got live on the other side. So it says live one day at a time. And this is before I got clean in there, but I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and how important it was to me. And I actually have Serenity tattooed on me now too. But essentially, like, I I guess dabbled with it. It wasn't like I was doing it every day. Like I never wanted to get into a habit of it, but I got to the point where I wanted to stop doing it. It gotten too much at one point, and I realized this is about when I was like 2.5 years in or whatever. This was a turning point. It was a huge turning point. Is what happened is I was sitting there on the top bunk. You know, I owed people money. I was ducking my creditors, which is something in prison you do not want to do. You know,
Yeah.
Don't want to piss off the
Nowhere
store box
to go,
guy.
really.
Don't want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was like, I always felt like I was never gonna be anything in this world. Like, no matter what it was, like, I was always gonna keep fucking up. And, like, I felt worthless. I was looking at what my sister was doing with her life and
It's
how,
very hopeless.
yeah. And I was sitting there
Yeah.
in the top bunk with nothing, and I owed money,
Yeah.
and like I was sick. You know, like I was sick because I took too much Suboxone, and I was like, this isn't what I want to do. Like, I got to make a change. And like, that's when I did the 12 steps for the first time. And the change that I got from that, doing that 12 steps, was insane, because like I had wanted it more than anything else in this world. I wanted to not feel hopeless about my future. I wanted to feel, I wanted to not fear my future. Like, I wanted to like be hopeful about my future. And what happened is I chased that like I chased anything else, and I got a lot from it. I mean, especially from the inventory process, and a lot from the first time I did the 12 steps, I got a lot from the inventory process. And
Did you do this by yourself, or
I did it by myself. And
Okay.
the thing is that on the AA book it says that if you are in a position, you're in a location where you have nobody else to do the steps with, then you can do the steps by yourself, as long as you try to do them to the best of your ability, and that you know, make sure that you do the part that you actually need somebody with, which is to, like, step 5, which is tell, you know, God, yourself, and another human being the exact nature of your wrongs. So that is what I did when I was able to do that with somebody. But, you know, essentially, like, you can get the same effect from the steps, but if you do it by yourself, this probably is not
Yeah.
probably what I say should
We're not
be
recommending
recommended.
that. Yeah, we're not recommending that. So,
But
but
if
if you're in jail,
Yeah,
I mean,
you have no
yeah.
other choice. And I wasn't going to wait until, like, okay, well, let me get a sponsor
Yeah.
in jail, and let's hopefully we do the steps. No, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to change. I wanted it now.
Yeah,
And-
that feeling of that desperate feeling only lasts for so long too. It's a small window. When somebody asks for help, you usually want to take advantage of that really quick and get that person to somewhere or in
Yeah.
front of someone that can help them, because that window does close. So
Yeah.
so you get desperate enough. You have that feeling in jail where you know something needs to change. You do the steps.
Yeah.
You have some type of a spiritual awakening.
Yeah. One thing I learned from the steps, sorry to cut you off, but, like, one thing I learned from just real quick, like, was step 4 and step 7. And that is, I think I got that right. That you don't have to lie to anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would write down the list of, like, what I hated about myself. You know, I hated lying to people. I hated being, like, trying to duck away from responsibilities. I hated, like, you know, I had this list of things, and it was like the way to counteract that is to, like, okay, instead of lying, be overly honest to people. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so, like, that's how I combat it, and that's just what came to me. I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm gonna start doing. And then instead of, like, trying to hide away from my responsibilities, I would face them like I'm, like, facing a battle, or, like, walking out into the firing line or something like that. Just, like, brave, and be like, go to that person and be like, look, I don't have your money. Like, I'm gonna do everything I can to get your money, but I just want to let you know that I don't have it. What can I do instead? Like, how can I make this right? And that's the mentality that I had from that point on. And knowing that there was nobody else that was going to make this shit happen unless it's myself, and to be honest, and to be fearless, and all this stuff. And those are key things that changed in my life when I went to prison. And I started practicing those every day. And, like, I got out of prison, I had a year clean. You know, I picked up my white chip. I actually had 11 and a half months clean. And I picked up my glow in the dark ship 2 weeks after I got out of prison. So
Nice.
I came out of there boss.
So, and then what year is this?
Well, this year's 2023, but
Yeah.
are you talking about?
No. What year? Yeah, what year? What you got
I
out
don't
of
know.
prison? Was it?
It was 2020.
Okay, so so you come out, and then that's a whole nother thing. You come out, and it's COVID, and
Bro.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got out. It was 2015. I mean, I got in there. It was 2015, and I get out, and it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
You know, I kept on telling people, I was like, I'm from the past. I'm sorry, so bear with me on this one. I have no idea what an Apple Watch is, or AirPods, or anything. TikTok. I was like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is TikTok?
It's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck is a TikTok? I was like, why do
So
people
you come out, and you 2020, and what happened then? You know.
Well, sorry. Yeah, what happened? I went to Willingness Foundation. You know, I went to recovery. I moved to Richmond. I had the opportunity to go anywhere I wanted to in the state of Virginia. And, like, I know I didn't want to go back to Virginia Beach. That was my previous life, is what I considered it to be. It was the time before prison and the time after prison. And, basically, like, I went to the Willingness Foundation. And, like, I started getting connected in recovery, and I started meeting the people that I'm meeting now, and that's why I think like this area specifically, I consider my stomping grounds. You know, like Henrico, like this Staples Mill, Henrico area. You know, like all the people that are in here played a huge part in my life up to this point, and like it's like these are the people of my new life, and these are my family. This is my family. You know, like that's what I consider. It's my recovery family. It's not my, you know, that's it. Because from the day one that I got out of prison to you know, right now, it's like, you know, I've formed connections and I formed networks with people that I feel like I'll have lifelong friendships with, and it's like just fucking beautiful, and like, you know, it just really, it's something that I always want to get back to, and like, I don't want to get away from, essentially. Like if I had to do years in prison right now, I would be just like, I can't even imagine it. And like, I think the fact that I'm back here in McShin now is a blessing. Like really,
it definitely is.
really a blessing.
Yeah, you have an opportunity to, you know, to do the right thing. So,
This thing shocked the shit out of me.
so now we come to, you know, it's 2023.
Yeah.
You are currently McShin participant.
I'm a McShinnigan again.
McShinnigan.
Yeah.
Over at Scott House in the intensive program.
Yes.
You've been in there for what, like 4 days now, 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. Let's not discount let's see, like 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah.
So 5 days. 5 strong days.
Five days. Maybe.
You got another 23 days, and right now your intentions are to finish the program and then move into sober living.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the intention. But you know, like the what I'm trying to do this differently this time is this, like I have continuously like I think like when I got locked up, like I forgot what it was like to do meth, and like I forgot how much of it can like take a hold of you so quickly, and then like I had like you know, I just wasn't prepared for it, you know, and it just ruined my life really quickly when I decided to make the conscious decision to go pedal the metal and just not stop doing it, and like and now I'm sitting here like looking like an idiot, but it's not a big deal, you know, to me. I mean, it's a big deal, but you know, it's like I'm trying to just move forward with it, and one of the things that I'm changing is what my intentions are. This is what I'm figuring out, is like that it's not about what my intentions are. It's about what my higher power's intentions are, because you know, like I can have all the intentions and plans that I want for real. I make it on a daily basis. Here, this is what I'm gonna do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I'm saying? Like first thing, write list, check. You know, like, you know, but really, my intentions that were on this list is to say make a podcast today. That was not my intention. but that's what God put in my life today. And I was like, okay. And, you know, like, I think this is great. Like, I'm, like, loving this. You know, like, I'm nervous as shit, but, you know.
Yeah.
Just, you know, like, I'm just trying to just go with the flow, I guess, right now.
Yeah,
with-
sometimes we don't know exactly why we do the things we do, but I guess it's important just to remember that. I know. I guess if you're doing something and it feels right, then you like the saying, you'll know when you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. So like if maybe somebody out there just needs to hear your story. Maybe somebody needs to be
Yeah.
reminded of what things can be like.
Yeah.
Maybe for me myself, man, because like it wasn't too long ago that I was at Scott House, man.
Yeah.
This time last year, I was just out of Scott House.
Yeah.
Just moved into sober living fresh, and it's a reminder, man.
Mhm.
Proud of you though, like for coming on here and sharing and stuff. And we'll do another podcast and we'll get a little bit more into the detail stuff.
Ju-
I know a lot of people don't like the war stories and stuff
No.
like that, but
No, I
for
mean,
YouTube, I feel like people that's what they want to hear and
Yeah.
see. You know what I'm saying?
you know, what's
Yeah.
funny is that, like, we've definitely touched base on the first part.
Yeah,
You know, saying we really haven't gone to the second part. And the second part is,
yeah.
but this is good. This is
Yeah.
real good. You know?
So we'll wrap it up here, man. We're about to hit an hour, yeah, man. Appreciate you coming on,
Excellent.
and thanks for watching and tuning in. And remember to stay in the herd.
Yes, sir.